Welcome to the 30-minute hour. It's the personal development podcast for the seven-figure entrepreneur who's looking to level up and become unstoppable. I'm your host, Eric Twiggs, your procrastination prevention partner. And my co-host is not going to be joining us today. He is attending a conference, so we definitely wish him well and wish him safe travels. But let me tell you, he is missing a treat. He'll be kicking himself when he goes back and listens to this recording, because we're going to be talking about how to maintain a standard of excellence. And there's a couple of pieces that we'll get into when we talk about this standard of excellence. But you know your guest is excellent when you announce that they're going to be on your platform and it literally breaks the internet. That's how you know that your guest is excellent, when people are just messaging all over the place. Okay, how do I log on? So you want to tune in and listen to everything that she's going to say. And she's got just an incredible story of how she's advanced to a very high level with an outstanding organization. And then I know quite a few of you are watching us on video right now, but don't forget you can also subscribe on Apple Podcast and Spotify. And that way you never miss a future episode. You'll just get an automatic update on your phone. So we're here today. We're going to talk about how to maintain a standard of excellence. And I'm not going to belabor the point. I'm just going to go ahead and introduce and present our guest of honor. So she's been with Marriott International for 30 years. That's 30 years, and that's just fantastic. And her current role, she's the vice president, hotel openings and transitions and operations and support resources. And so she leads Marriott International's United States, Canada, and CALA new build hotel openings processes and hotel transitions, and consisting of ownership and brand and management changes to the existing hotels. And she has this large task force. Her team is composed of 300 plus full-time and flex associates. Think about that. That's a large team. Now, there's two main things you need to know that just really just takes our guest over the top. What I'm about to tell you next, these two facts, it just takes our guest just over the top to the next level. She is a graduate of arguably the greatest school that's out there, Hampton University. Right. There you go. And she's a proud member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. All right. There you go. That's my line sister right there. All right. So please join me in welcoming to the 30-minute hour, Porsche Pettiford.
Thank you.
Welcome.
You so much. It's a pleasure to be here, my brother.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to have you on. Been looking forward to this for quite a while, and definitely wanted to just acknowledge you and congratulations to you on all the success you've had and moving up within the same organization and achieving all the milestones that you've achieved. I mean, that's awesome. Congratulations to you on all your success up to this point.
Thank you.
All right. So let's get into it. I want to kind of give everybody kind of the backdrop and perspective. So I did some research. I wanted to make sure I was prepared for our conversation today. So you began your career, you were the sales manager at the Residence Inn in Newark, Delaware.
Exactly.
Right. And the word on the street is that your original plan was just you going to stay for a short time and then ultimately pursue a career as an attorney. So what was it that motivated you to lean into the hospitality industry instead?
Yes. My heart was in going to law school. I'm a poli-sci major out of Hampton. When we graduated, I needed just a little bit of time off before I went straight into, going to take the exam and then going on to law school. So I worked at a hotel in my little neighborhood. It was down the street. It was a Crown Plaza in Rockville, Maryland. And I went into that building and I just said, hey, I'll do anything. I just want to take the year and find myself before I have to, go off to this real life thing. And I took a job doing part-time everything. I did the front desk. We had a department called PBX, and this is going to date us all, but it was basically a phone operator inside the hotel,
Oh, wow.
routing calls from the inside to the outside and vice versa. And then I was a concierge too for at night when you get to, hobnob with the big wigs in the evening and just talk and serve them hors d'oeuvres and alcohol. But I think your question is, why did I actually change my mind about going to law school? I fell in love with the hotel industry in those little part-time jobs. I actually stayed long enough that I went into the sales department and did selling for them. So I would sell like groups coming into the hotel or meetings or events. And I think I found my calling in how I wanted to be of servitude to people. Like I enjoyed the hospitality industry because I was able to give to people in a way that was meaningful to my heart. And it's hard work. It is not, it's people who can complain and this is not ready, or my room's not this, or whatever's not whatever. But you find your love for something. And I found my calling in that, serving other people, giving them meeting their needs, etc. I didn't find a long-term love with Holiday Inn Crowne Plaza. I left there because this is a real story. When I was ready to do something more for them, I said, I'm ready for a promotion. I want to do that job over there. They sat me down and they said, why don't you slow down and smell the roses? You graduated high school college a year ago, and you got time. And I felt like that was deflating for me. And the very next day, I wrote my resignation letter up and I said, I'm leaving. This is not for me long term. I love the industry, but you're not for me. You're not the kind of company I'm looking for. I'm looking for someone who is going to believe in me. And just a long story short, I found Marriott in the weirdest of ways. I was visiting a line sister in Delaware, and we were looking in the want ads just because she knew I had just quit my job. And we found this little Residence Inn down the street from her that was hiring an account executive for sales. And I got hired, long story short. And I stayed with this company for 30 years, if I were to fast forward, because I found a company that nurtures and believes in me. And we believe in every individual who wants to work hard, who has a love of servitude of other people. And it is a company that invests in me as an individual, from a training and education, you name it. I can do it in terms of exploring where I want to go next in this company. And they will never say, go smell the roses. They're going to say, how can I help you get there?
That's powerful. So I'm curious. So we were talking backstage about the importance of, finding something that you really love and something that you feel like is your thing. So like how long did it take you to realize that, this isn't something that I'm just gonna do part time? Like how long was that, or was there like a moment where you said, this is it?
Yeah, I think it was the very first promotion I got. I was a salesperson that did proactive selling. So it was like feet on the street, cold calling and everything else to drive business to the hotel I was working at. And then I got promoted to become a director of the sales department in that little Residence Inn hotel. And I think the moment I learned that the company was there to support me, and they were able to show me the trajectory of other things I could do, in this company for the long term. And they had a great, 401k and stock plan. And the more you stay with them, the more they reward you in that. So you're kind of like, you're a stake in this company, because they want you to stay when they know you're good and you have given, all you can give, and they see the future and positivity and potential in you. That's when I knew it was my very first promotion, because they just talked about, you've got something that we want to make sure we nurture and we want to keep you. And they show it, not just say it. They show up and they say, and they sort of live what the talk is, if that makes sense.
No, it makes total sense. So I'm curious, like what advice, we have entrepreneurs who are watching this, and we have people who
Mhm.
are thinking of starting businesses. What advice do you have for that person who's out there and they're looking for their thing? They're looking for that
Mhm.
thing that lights them up that they feel is their calling. What advice do you have for that person?
I think when you find something that you love, and it could be anything. And I feel like the more you lean into the what you love thing, and let other things sort of fall away, meaning don't be so focused on money all the time. Don't be so focused on titles. Don't, you can have a drive and you can have ambition, and that's a healthy thing. But when you actually put yourself into the moment of, you do something so naturally and it just lights you up inside. You get up in the morning and you can't wait to do that thing. That's when you found what you love, right? And it could be anything. And I think once you realize what that is, don't let it go. Latch onto it and lean into it and not let any of the distraction of things that can get in the way become, what makes you not pursue what you love. And you can find what you love in many different ways. So no matter what it is, if it lights you up, go for it. And don't let anything stand in the way of that.
I think that's great advice because I coach. I'll coach entrepreneurs, and I remember I had a client one time, and the business was doing well, and if you looked at his balance sheet, you'd think, "Oh, this guy's successful." And from time to time, he would just turn up missing in action to some of our coaching sessions, and he just confided in me later that he literally hates the business. I'm sorry, it's just not, but he bought one
I
of these
see.
franchises and they told him, oh, it's turnkey, you can make money at the cat, but he didn't really have any interest. It wasn't his thing.
I think you're more successful long term when you do what you love, honestly.
Mhm.
Because when something feels like it's a chore and you're doing it just because of whatever these other things are, these existential things that you think are important, I don't think you're as successful as you could be. I think once you lean into what you love, the sky's the limit because you radiate this happiness and this attraction to other people to you when you are absolutely happy, on the inside, outside, this little aura around you. And I think success follows that. People are attracted to it as well.
Totally agree. Totally agree. So if you could time travel and kind of go back to that beginner version of yourself that was at the Residence Inn, like
Hmm.
what advice would you give to that version of yourself based off of what you know now?
Yeah, I think, you know what? I think I would tell my younger self how to network better.
Hmm.
And network means people think that means just strictly for the business, right? For the business reasons of things. Networking means to put yourself out there to people. And I learned this from a lot of my mentors. When you um, can find yourself putting yourself out in spaces where you're not as comfortable, but you still navigate through it, just power through it. You will meet people in your life that will be oftentimes game changers for you. And it could be that they introduce you to other people that they know that then become your extended network that you would have never had if you just not, sort of stepped out a little bit outside of yourself and a little bit of uncomfort. So for me, it would be put yourself out there, put yourself in circumstances, in groups of people, in things you have interest in. And there are things that I have done that I've been interested in, either socially or professionally, that I will go by myself. Because sometimes, going with an entourage and your best friend and your buddy and my besties are always up for, being with me or, hanging out. But sometimes if you go by yourself, you you are putting yourself into even a more uncomfortable scenario, but you want to make yourself just talk to people without having the crutch of other people sort of there to make it happen for you, conversations or introductions or what have you. And you will see how much your expanded network grows so much faster. So, my advice to my younger self, put yourself out there more. Uh, and just sort of the second piece to that would be own your career.
Hmm.
So that's the second piece of my advice. So, what does that mean? It means that no one is responsible for your career but yourself. Not your boss, not your mom, your dad, your this or that, or your colleagues, peers around you. They're not. And you have to really have a purposeful vision for yourself about what you want to have experiences in your career. Where do you want to go next? And you have to just put yourself out there, as that's a part of what we just talked about. But owning your career means you are aggressively, like a part-time job, advancing yourself to advance your career, if that makes sense.
That makes total sense. And so one of the things I found, I don't think in school they really taught this. Really, like they don't really talk about networking. You think that it's all about your competence and how good you are at your job, right? But
Mm-hmm.
a lot of it is who you know, and
That's it.
you see people all the time that in the work world that if you looked at them on paper, their performance doesn't seem to be that great, but they always get promoted
Mm-hmm.
because they mastered
Right.
that whole networking thing. And even with business, when it's not about having the best, being the most competent, but it's also about being able to put yourself out there and communicate.
Yeah, I think I believe in the three pieces of career success. And one is your performance is like table stakes. You got to perform. You got to be good at what you do, deliver what you're supposed to do in your job description or whatever it is. That's performance. That's the P in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
The next piece is the I in it. It's the image. What is the image you're portraying about yourself to the world? And that's something you have to work on. The image is how you show up physically, and then how you project yourself, how do you talk, how do you interact with people. That's image, because not everybody's going to meet you, but they're going to see you, right? Let's just say they may see you in a room, and how are you projecting? And some people will say, from an image perspective, that person commands the room. Have you ever heard that?
Oh, sure.
Right.
Yes.
Some people who can walk into a room and command the room, and it's part of this image piece. It's confidence. It's how you put yourself out there, and how you show up physically, how you dress, how you kind of take care of yourself in those moments. The last piece is an E. It's called exposure. And it's exactly what we're talking about with the networking piece. You have to get yourself exposed to other people. And that's the networking piece to help you get that. The more people you know, the more people will be able to help you, push you, advance you, guide you, sponsor you, whatever it is. I want to actually talk about networking for just a second, because part of networking too is, we talked about mentors for just a second earlier. Finding mentors is important to a career, but everybody says that. And how do you do it? And sometimes it happens organically most of the time. You actually you gravitate to certain people that you have sort of admiration for, right? Or maybe they're in a role you want or that you think you want. Introducing yourself to those kinds of people in your life, just to say, hey, I really admire some of the things you've done, or some of the things you have planned, or how you've grown your business. Talking to those people is important. And it will naturally sort of organically create this mentorship for you in many ways. But there's a difference between a mentor and a sponsor. So in my world, I have both. A sponsor is a more senior executive in your orbit that is going to be in the rooms where you're not. And they're going to talk about you, about what you're capable of. And they're going to be the people who are sort of championing you when the spaces that you're not allowed in those rooms yet. So I have sponsors that I have nurtured who are in, C-suite and above, and that will say, you should really go with Porsche versus the other person, when I'm going for things, or I'm aspiring for things. But they're not the mentors I go to every single day for everything. But you have to work on both. People who will sponsor you, who will be the champions of you when you're not in the room. And then you have these mentors who are going to lift you up and give you guidance and tell you the truth when you need it, type of thing.
So what did you do to nurture the sponsors?
So those are the people that I set up every now and then. Maybe I set up a quarterly coffee chat with them, and sometimes it's in my corporate headquarters and sometimes it's not. And I'm just going to talk to them about what I'm doing, what's on my mind, what I want. I think what people shy away from is telling other people in high levels what you want. What do you want? What do you want to do, and who do you want to be? What role do you want to aspire for? And if you keep that to yourself, or you're only telling a few people, you're telling just your boss, you are not, I think, giving yourself as much access to opportunity as you could. Those sponsors are the people I tell what I want to do, when I want to get there, and how I want to be exposed in my company. And it has helped me reach where I am right now.
So you literally you go in your calendar and say, okay, once a quarter, I need to reach out to Joe, who is the chief this, and just meet him for coffee and make sure he knows what I'm working on.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. It's as simple as that.
Hmm.
And most people are flattered by the invitation of you saying, "Hey, could you sit down with me for, half an hour? I just want to talk a little bit about, what's in my head, maybe things that you could help me with, and I'm hoping you can help me with." And they will be flattered, and they will give you the coffee chat. I've never had someone say no to me.
Yeah.
They've always worked it into their schedule, and everybody's busy, but everybody, when you ask, it's about the asking that really makes the difference, because people will say yes, but you just have to get the nerve and the courage and the fortitude to just make the question happen. Can you join me for coffee? It's not that difficult, but it's the human element inside of your nervousness or your confidence that's maybe prohibiting you from doing that.
Yeah, I mean, that alone will help you to stand out because no one else
Mhm.
is taking that step. And I mean that this is good.
Mhm.
I've had times in corporate America where I've supervised 500 people in a particular role, and no one's ever
Mhm.
said, "Hey, Eric, let's go to coffee so I can bring you up to speed on what I'm doing." They
That's it.
they definitely would be high on my radar if they did.
Those are the people who are memorable, right, Eric?
Right,
They have gumption, they have
right.
moxie. They're coming up to you and saying, "Can I have a little bit of your time?" And what's wrong with that? That is what I'm talking about by putting yourself out there.
Hmm.
Get through the fear, own your career, get yourself the things that you want, and tell people what it is that you want. Now, there's got to be a part of humility in all of these conversations too. So you be yourself, be your authentic self when you're having these discussions. But the part about asking is not it's not being less humble. It's being honest and forthright, and it's being a champion of yourself. And what's wrong with that?
Nothing at all. Nothing at all. And then you said something. The PIE. I've never heard it expressed this way.
Yep.
That if you really want to get to the next level, it's about your performance. You need that.
Mhm.
You really need to be mindful of your image and how you're showing up,
Mhm.
and not just how you think you're showing up. It's how are you actually showing up, and then you need to focus on exposure.
That's
And
exactly right.
I think if people know who you are, that makes it easier, especially if your
Opens
name comes up.
opens doors. It opens doors many, many times that you can never imagine if you just start that process. Think about pie. Just think about it.
Pie. Here you go. That's we have a takeaway segment at the end, but somebody needs to be writing that down right now. Pie. PIE.
Yeah,
Make
P
sure
is
you.
for performance, I is your
Yep.
image, and E is your exposure. Those three
Sure.
elements are going to help you in your career.
Yeah, I think that applies if you're in a corporate setting or even if you're an entrepreneur and you're trying to really get your business out there, thinking about those three key elements. So we're talking about mentors. Is there a mentor in particular that stands out to you that really has helped you get to the next level?
Yes, and it actually is one of my former bosses. She's a female. She's a senior vice president in our company. But it's not really about her title because she wasn't that role when I met her. And I worked for her when I was in one of my regional operations jobs. And what makes her a great mentor is the following. When I talk to her about, I'll come to her about, hey, I'm aspiring. I want to apply for this job in our company. Here's what it's all about. What do you think? Do you think it's a good fit for me?
Hmm.
And what makes her a good mentor is she's the one that will tell me, no, that's not for you. And here's why. Right. Or she will tell me, absolutely, you can do that. And then here's how you're going to be able to get there type of thing. Here's how you should approach it when you want to apply for the job. But she's my favorite mentor because when I talk about roles I want, she will also say, when she says the no, you don't need to do that. She's saying, Portia, you don't need to do that job because you already have this, this, and this. How is that going to advance you? That may be good for the company if you were in that role, but is that good for Portia? She's a very candid leader and mentor for me. And I appreciate that more than someone who's the mentor that tells me all the good things I want to hear. You need those mentors who are going to build you up and say you're great and you're going to do, all those things, right? But you need mentors too that will balance you out and tell you the bad and the ugly. Like, Portia, you need to do this job before you can even aspire for that job. What are you thinking about, right? Like, hey, let's teach you how to get to the first job first before you can get to that other job that you think you're ready for, because Portia, not ready yet. I appreciate that. So the people who are in my life that are mentors that can tell me the real and have that hard conversation with me, but also be the cheerleader when I need them. Those are the best mentors I've ever curated in my entire life.
Yeah, and one of the things, 'cause I think a lot of people struggle with feeling seen, and one of the things of
Mhm.
a great mentor is they can see things in you that you don't see in yourself.
That's true.
And at
Hmm.
least you get an
Very
opportunity to
true.
kind of latch on to their belief until your belief catches up.
That's very
So,
true. Yeah, you're right. And if I build on what you just said, is that the mentor can also be the one that says, if you're staying in a role or a position or a responsibility area for too long, they may be the ones that also taps you on the shoulder to say, hey, I think you're ready for something else. You're ready for
mm,
something bigger. Perhaps even in your mind, you hadn't even realized that. And so a great mentor will also do that. I do that for a lot of my people when I feel like they've done everything to master a position and they're just holding themselves back because of fear. They're afraid to move out of a job, or fear to take on more, just get out of their comfort level. So a mentor will say, also, they'll tap you on the shoulder to say, hey, have you thought about this? And they will give you that thought to think, pivot a little bit to say, I can do this. They kind of like convince you that you can do something more.
for sure, for sure. Okay, so now I mean you're the vice president, hotel openings, transitions, operations, support resources. What is a typical day in the life like for you? What do you do on a typical day?
Yeah. So if I am on the road, so for the most part, a lot of my job is the opening hotel part, because we're opening it in two different continents. US and Canada is one continent, and then Caribbean and Latin America is the other. So typical day could be, I would be on the ground in a hotel if it's kind of a high profile opening. And I am observing how my team is going about the work of opening this hotel. And they are working with the hotel frontline associates, training them how to do their jobs. There are people who are putting the furnitures, fixtures, and equipment and systems into a hotel. We are in the back, in the kitchen, teaching people how to, curate and run a restaurant. We're teaching the housekeepers how to create the standards of excellence for our company, because we don't go anything, short of our standards. So the typical day is observing how they're going about doing that work, because I'm responsible then to the owner who has put the money into that building to create that Marriott building, to put the flag on it. And so I'm look for quality assurance, almost, you could say. But I'm also there to support my team, to make sure that they have the tools and resources they need to make it as efficient as possible to do what they do. Because at any given year, we could open up 350 hotels a year. And that's almost sometimes more than one a day, right? And across that geography, it's pretty big. So for me, on the ground, I think every good leader has a pulse on what's happening, even at the ground level. Do I do that every day? No, I don't have time for it. I'm often at our Marriott headquarters talking to the people who are our partners, like brand people and marketing people and franchisee services people, and on, right? We have all these different partners we have to rely upon to do our work. So I'm typically face to face with them, talking about what's coming in the next year. So my team is already being prepared for what's coming, and prepared, so it's all kind of dumped on us at one time. Because in our business, our evolution of brands, we buy new brands all the time. We're partnering with MGM now. We're partnering with all these different people, and all these different things are happening to make the evolvement of the business change every day and every week, but mostly every year too. And so being on the front grounds of what's coming is important to me, and that's why I'm at headquarters in Bethesda, Maryland, a lot.
Okay. Okay. And you said something I really want to touch on, that this standard of excellence. Because Portia, here's what I've noticed, right? Whether I'm in Mexico or I'm in Maryland. If I'm in a Marriott, it's at a certain level. There's a standard. You know,
Yeah.
it jumps out at me. So what are some lessons from Marriott that our followers can apply so they can put this standard of excellence in place?
Yeah, I think the first thing, just quickly, is have standards. What are your standards? Create them, and then literally hold people accountable to those standards, because that creates consistency. Right? Consistency is what people who are your purchasers, they want consistency. They don't want too much differentiation from one experience to the other, unless it's supposed to be that way. Meaning, my brands, we have 32 brands. There's supposed to be an experience for all 32 brands. And there are standards for all those brands. Like, that's what the customer wants. We're going to give them this. So if you're an entrepreneur, define your standards. What are the do's and don'ts of your sort of your platform or the offering or the business you're in? Define them clearly and articulate them clearly, and then hold people accountable to them. And that creates the consistency you want on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. So I would imagine like Marriott has certain core values that they align around and that they talk about at all the meetings and all of that. Because it's funny,
Mm-hmm.
one of the quotes I heard was from Tony Robbins, who was saying that you may not achieve your goal, but you will always get your standard.
That's it. That's a very true statement. It's a very true statement. And your standards don't have to be overly complicated. It's just about what are your pillars? What are the things you stand for? What are the things you always want to deliver? What's your promise to your customer? How do you want it to be delivered to the customer? That customer experience. And then sort of just define those small things in a very simple way. People don't like complexity, because in my business, I have an hourly associate at the hotel level who may be at the front desk. And then we have chief operating officers that need to sort of live by the same standards or understand the standards. So you have to have it scalable to, the people who are, doing the day-to-day on the ground work, to people who are at corporate headquarters. And so, yes, I think it's important to have not just standards, but what are your beliefs, your core values? And for us, ours are simple. It's all about our people. Like, we are about our own people first before we can give it to our customer. We take care of the associate first and foremost. So they want to stay and love their jobs and love what they do. And then they can pour into our guests that very same love and respect and hospitality. So we are a people first company. And that's what attracted me to Marriott to begin with, too, is also that it's a people first company. But it means people means associate first. And then we are able to give it to our guests.
That's good. No, I mean, that's consistent with the other great companies that are out there. They tend to value the internal customer as the priority because they know the internal customer is going to take care of the external customer.
That's exactly right. You said it exactly right.
Yeah.
Indeed.
And I think it goes back to what you said at the beginning, where if you're a person, they love what they're doing, that comes across.
It does. And the tenure within Marriott, people stay 20, 30, 40 years in this company. And that's not many companies have that, or maybe they don't talk about it, but that is like a badge of honor for us. We want people to come and stay, and you have to be able to find the way to make them stay. And it's not going to be just about money. We're not the highest paying company in the whole, out of all of the, corporate America. We pay fair. We then just want to make sure we're investing in our people in all different ways, and from financial to their benefits to their perks. Like, we get to stay at Marriott hotels when we're on our own vacation at a very low cost, and so many other perks, if you will. But you have to, we sort of like win hearts and minds to the associate first, and then they can, do what we are asking them to do when it comes to our customer.
Yeah, no, I think there's a lot of lessons and takeaways from this episode, and just even having that consistent experience to the point, because that's really what your brand is all about. I know what I'm going to get. I know what I'm going to get when I go to Marriott. Some other places not so much.
That's right. That's right. I love it. Thank you for being a loyal member of Marriott.
No, it's excellent.
Appreciate you.
Yep. So what's next? You're a mover and shaker. What's next on the horizon for you, Portia?
Yeah. Hey, listen, I'm trying to conquer corporate America here. I'm looking for my next move. I'm owning my own career. I'm looking to get to SVP level and chief operating level as well before I decide I'm going to retire. And I'm doing everything to make that happen with my network and my sponsors and everything else. So for me, I have more places to go and grow with it than my own company. Um, Outside of Marriott, I also have a life, right? Like I have other things I'm investing in myself, which is I actually have a real estate license
Mm.
for residential for New Jersey. And it's not because I want to be a real estate agent. It's because when I want to retire from Marriott, I want to go into residential and commercial real estate. So I'm sowing those seeds now into the ground to make me ready for that. I am also a member of a foundation. I'm on the board of directors for a foundation, nonprofit, because I like to give back to the next generation, which is high school students and below. And my foundation does that. And my next move there is I want to go to board of director members where it's a paid board of directors versus a nonprofit, and I'm doing it volunteerism. I will do that. So for me, I like to have many different sort of irons in the fire of my life that gives me fulfillment. Because I have work and then I have, the personal fulfillment that, I want to make sure they're balanced, right? Because it can't be all about Marriott. I'm a holistic person. I want to look at my future that way as well.
And the good thing is that you understand the success principles. So whether you're at Marriott, whether you're in real estate, the quarterly coffee chats and just the pie and all that applies, right?
It does indeed. It
Yeah,
does.
yeah,
Absolutely.
awesome.
Yes.
Well, so this has been a fantastic conversation. We're talking about how to maintain a standard of excellence. So we're now coming towards the final segment, which we
Mhm.
call "Write This Down," and this is where we'll both leave just at least one idea from today's episode that we want the people to write down so they can level up. So,
Wow.
Portia,
That's the fun part of this.
the
Yeah.
fun part.
So, all right, I've got really three things. And first will be almost, it'll sound like it'll be quotes or a proverb. Okay. And this is
Hmm.
what I live by.
Okay.
One of the proverbs is going to be very known to people. It's actually an African proverb. But if it says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. And I
Mm.
live by that, which means you are greater when you have other people rallying around you and helping to push you forward, right? And that's how you go far. And I live my life that way. I have a big social circle. I love people. I love bringing people who can benefit from my learnings, my position, or wherever I am in my stature of life to help, because the more I can bring into my fold and help us all move forward, it makes me better and stronger. I believe that. So that is one thing to write down, right? The other is, I think Maya Angelou said this, but it's, people don't always remember what you say, but they will always remember how you made them feel. And that's part of that hospitality spirit in me. That's why that resonates with me. It's that whether you're an entrepreneur or whether you're working for a company or what have you, surrounding yourself by people is going to happen. And the way that you treat them, the way that you nurture them, and really make them feel like you are invested in them as much as you're invested in yourself, that goes into the we can go far together, right? Type of mentality. So think about how you are interacting with other people and how you are, I would say the word is nurture, right? Nurturing your surroundings and the people that you have to be with. They will remember you for it. And I think that's a beautiful thing. That's a part of a legacy, I think, that you can build and that I am built for myself.
Hmm.
The last level up thing I'll say, Eric, is to set goals.
Hmm.
You set goals. If you have no goals, you are sort of floundering a little bit, right? You're kind of letting yourself go to many different things. You're focused to many different areas, and you have to have focus in life, I think. So set goals, small, medium, or large. Once you achieve them, or some of them, repeat, set new goals. always have a goal, always have purpose, always have a drive. There's got to be a true north to your life, personally and professionally. And sometimes it's a balance of the two. But setting goals is so important because you can be striving for something and you're looking to attain that thing, and you need to have steps to get you there. And when you achieve it, celebrate it, set new goals after that, right? It's kind of like rinse and repeat.
Hmm.
I think if you do not have goals, you will not go as far as you possibly can.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I want to unpack that a little bit.
Mhm.
What is your system for setting goals?
I think about what is going to, first, what's going to make me happy. Remember, I talked about doing what you love. And
Hmm.
sometimes, doing what you love requires step one, two, three to get to it. So for me, it's I focus on what it is that I want and what I love. And that helps me set the goals. Meaning, if I want that and I know that brings me happiness, what do I need to do to achieve it? And set small incremental goals, meaning I need to go talk to this person, or I need to act to do this, I need to research this, or I need to whatever, get certified or whatever. Goals can be very, very small, but you have to have them because it's like this, it's the stepping stone to the reward and the
Hmm.
end. So for me, it comes from what's going to make me happy. What do I want? I start with that. And then I begin to make these small stepping stones of, well, how am I going to get there? Small, medium, and large steps. And it will come to fruition. I promise. I promise you.
Do you so you write them down? You
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
All my friends know I'm a make a list, check it twice type of girl. So, yeah, I write them down. I write them down. I am a checklist kind of a person. Like when I am pursuing something, I write my steps out, check them off as I go. But I have to write them down because I'm also a visual person.
Hmm.
Some people are learners when they're audio, they listen to it, they hear it, and that's kind of how it drives them. But I'm a visual person. So I need to see things in order to begin to formulate my thoughts and my ideas. So I write my goals down, I write the steps down, and I check them off as I go. And then the part about celebrating the wins, no matter if they're small, medium, or large, is really important to goal setting too. Because if you're constantly striving for something and it's taking too long, the steps are taking too long, you can get discouraged. And you don't want that. You want to just make these little milestones that say, I did that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, celebrate it. Go out with your friends or your family or your loved ones and be like, I did that, right? And celebrate the moment of those small wins because the small wins will add up to big wins. And then more and more and more comes of that.
Absolutely. Yeah, you have to. And I'm a big proponent of writing your wins down. I always say that the more you write your wins down, the more wins you'll have to write down.
That's right. That's right.
Oh, that's excellent. So it looks like you've got a fan, Sharon Austin. I think she's calling you an
Oh,
organized
Sharon, my
Sharon
baby,
Austin.
one of
Okay.
my besties.
Okay. She's calling you an organized list master.
My besties know me very well. And yeah, I'm that one who makes the list. I'm highly functional, organized. I own that. It's all right. Don't apologize for who you are, and people in your life will love you for that. Just be your authentic self. Don't shy away from it. I'm going to go back to this part about if you want to go far, go together. You're building people in your life. People are going to be organized. Some people are very good at creativity. Some people are really great, like whatever those things are. That's what makes the journey so rich. And you're going to go so far when you surround yourself by people who have maybe those things that you're not as, that you don't call your strength, so to speak. But yeah, I love my besties more than you will ever know. Mwah! I know if y'all are listening, I love y'all.
Well, speaking of besties, Portia, we have another comment from Kirsten White. She says, very organized and an exceptional planner.
You bet. That is my line sister, and that's actually
Yeah.
my back, number 46. I'm 45 on the Delta line. So spring 90. But yes, I don't shy away from that. And so you know what? They will be the ones that say, plan this, plan that, organize this, organize that. And that's how we have fun. And so, hey, listen, I own that and I love that. I love that they know that about me.
No, that's fantastic. So that was great for this segment of write this down. So
Good. Good
hopefully
to know.
everybody wrote that down and they're going to go back and actually apply it. Because here's the thing, right? Listening to a podcast is easy. Watching a
Mhm.
podcast is easy. The challenge is actually applying the ideas that you get and actually
That's
making it work for yourself.
that's right. That's
But good.
right.
Yeah,
And
no, that,
there are many paths to how
yes,
you do some of these things. There are many paths to it. So do it your way. Do it your
yes,
authentic, being your authentic self. That's the other thing. That's write it down, is be who you are. Be your authentic
yes.
self and be unapologetic about it. I
There you
think
go.
that is really important as well.
For sure. So my segment for this
Mhm.
piece, let's write this down. It's actually, I think it's a Chinese proverb. It says that if you want to find the path forward, find someone who's on the way back.
All right.
And it has everything to do with, we were talking about mentorship. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm really trying to get more and more intentional with that. That if there is a result that I aspire to, reaching out to people who already have the result, as opposed to, so here it is. Here's the thing, right?
Yes,
Sometimes
sir.
our biggest strength can be our biggest weakness, right? Because we
That's
think, oh,
true.
you know what? I've got this sense of urgency. I've got this focus. I'm going to make it happen. I'm type A,
Mhm.
and I don't need help. Where you save yourself a lot of frustration by finding
Yes.
someone who's already got the result that you aspire to.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And I can tell you some stories. I'm actually going to tell you one because I think this is meaningful. This is actually another Hamptonian story.
All right.
One of the mentors in my life, probably even barely knew he was a mentor, but it was Derek Lewis. It is Derek Lewis,
Hmm.
who is a few years older than I am in terms of graduation year of Hampton, but married one of my besties, and I've watched his career. And I got the nerve one day and I asked my bestie, Shireen, for, hey, would you mind if I called Derek to ask him about how he got onto a board of directors? Because this is before I ever did it. And she gave me the number and I called him. I prepared for the call. Number one, prepare for the call. And I just had these things that I wanted to ask him as I wanted to explore, how do I do it like you, type of thing. And he gave me some really great advice, which was, one of them was, put yourself out there, right? And I took notes, wrote it down. I followed the things that he told me. And not even 6 months later, I was on a board of directors. It was like, if you don't ask people, put yourself out there, ask people how they did it. That's actually to your point about ask someone who's on the way back, right? I would not be on the board of directors of my dreams. I love what I do on this board of directors.
Hmm.
It's giving back to high school students. I'm teaching them about jobs in hospitality and restaurant management and finding them jobs and internships. And it's in my hometown of Montgomery County, Maryland. So that part of me that I was sharing, that this sort of mentorship, put yourself out there, ask people for a coffee chat. It's real. It can do something for you. It did something for me. And I've actually done that with many other types of mentors in my life. But I thank them for being honest and being open with me and sharing their experiences.
That's a great story. A great
Right?
story. Yeah, and it's and we've been fortunate on this show. We've had quite a few high achievers, and that's one word that always comes up. And Ted and I, we always look at each other every time because it's like, okay, see, there's a pattern here. They
That's it.
all believe in mentorship. They were all helped by mentors.
That's it. Can't do it alone.
Cannot do it alone.
That's exactly
All
correct.
right. All right. Well, Portia, this has been a fantastic episode of the 30-minute
Thank
hour.
you. So
Thank you.
happy to be with you.
Yeah. Thank you for everything that you shared. Any final thoughts, any final comments you want to leave the people with?
I would just say again, be your authentic self. Have wants and dreams and goals. Think big, dream big, and don't let anything stop you. The sky is truly the limit if you know how to sort of master your own fear and not let fear paralyze you, but let fear accelerate you by putting yourself out there in those most uncomfortable moments of your life, personally and professionally. and your sphere of influence of people and your network will be growing faster than you would ever realize by doing all those things. And if you ever want to talk, I'm here for you. And you can hit me up on my LinkedIn account if you want to.
Okay. Did you want to give them the LinkedIn? We can put it in the comment section.
You can put it in the comments because it's really long. You can look me up. Just look up Porsche Pettiford. There's not that many of those.
All right. Yep. We'll put it in the comments. All right. Fantastic. Again, Jennifer Page, she says, this has been such an enlightening conversation.
I love you, bestie. Mwah.
All the besties are coming out. All right.
You bet. Hey, we strong. My line sisters, Delta Sigma Theta, and my besties from Hampton. You know that's right.
Oh, for sure.
They're going to show up.
Sure.
But Line Brother, thank you for inviting me to the conversation, and I am happy to join you anytime. Thanks for what you're doing.
No, thank you. No, this is awesome, and I know you are very inspirational to a lot of people. I mean, and it's no accident all these people are commenting. It's no accident that people have had the reaction when they found out you were going to be on this episode.
Well, so. I am humbled by that. I am humbled and honored by that, and I'm going to keep carrying that torch.
Please do.
That's important to me. Lift everybody else up while they're making their own journeys too.
Yes, for sure. All right. And then for those of you watching or listening to us right now, don't forget to share the show. Don't keep this information to yourself. And again, don't forget that you can go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all of those places. Right now, we're up to 1.3 million total downloads. Make sure that you subscribe to this podcast. That way you never miss an episode. Thank you again to Porsche Pettiford for everything that you've shared. Thank you to all the besties around the world who are commenting on this episode. That's our time for this week's episode of the 30-Minute Hour. And until next time, have a great one.
Take care.